Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday morning. I am Josh Hayes here on the Morning Hayes. We have Nathan Heisted joining us this morning for the first official guest on the Morning Hayes show. And that's going to be exciting. We're going to be talking about his Resistance series this morning. Before we get into all that, because he has to go get a haircut, so we're gonna make sure that we stay on focus and stay on topic this morning, and not ramble and not do anything ridiculous.
We wouldn't do
Um,
that.
no, we wouldn't. For those of you that are just joining the channel, I am Josh Hayes. I'm the author of the Terra Nova series, co-author with Richard Fox. I am also the author of several short stories, three of which appear in Nathan's Explorations anthologies. I'm also the author of the forthcoming Strikers War and Edge of Valor. Both are in the process of being published right now. I'm also the host of Live on Keystroke Medium, which is tonight at 8 p.m. Central, if you want to come hang out with us. Nathan, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Sure, I'm Nathan Heistad, a science fiction and I guess I'll say a horror author as well, since I am writing a horror book right now. I've written, I think, 14 novels so far, six books in my Survivors series, which came out last year, and then most recently the Resistance series, which is three books in total. And I'm currently working on a sequel to my horror novel Red Creek, and I have two more Survivors books coming up back to back in the next couple months.
So one of the cool things I think about our relationship is I've mentioned the collective several times on the show, and we've mentioned it on Keystroke before. Nathan was one of the original members of the collective, and one of the driving forces between behind sci-fi explorations, which is still around, I think, a little bit, but not as prevalent as it used to be. And basically he put all that together, or we started all of that after Nathan created his Explorations anthology series, and that was kind of uh the start of pretty much everything that happened for several of our careers, Ralph and me and Scott and Rob, who we don't talk to very often anymore.
Yeah,
um but it's interesting. On Friday I'm going to talk about kind of my journey from where we started at Keystroke to where we are now, and the different stages of what happened to get where I'm at. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit on Friday. But I thought it was interesting to mention that today is that Nathan and I have been um, pretty much, we talk daily almost,
yeah,
and it's fun to watch how he went from full time, working full time, and then writing part time and doing the Woodbridge Press anthologies, and then also publishing a couple of novels. And it's interesting to watch him go full time and see the success that he's had. So, just congratulations, Nathan, on all
thanks, man.
that, because it's really really good fun to watch that.
Well, it's been pretty cool because we started with the collective. Let's say you, me, and Ralph and Scott came in, and now as it's expanded, we, you and I, it feels like every year at the start we're going, next year's going to be huge, buddy, and then next year's going to be huge, and now we're still saying that in 2019 is going to be amazing, and just to see the amount of productivity that the group members put out and the amount of books that we're putting out, it just goes to show you that having a tribe and doing this thing and having each other's backs and motivating each other and all this other stuff, it's really worked, and it's pretty cool to see. And now you're full-time too, and congratulations. Like,
Thanks,
our
dude.
dreams are coming true, and it's pretty cool to watch it. And like, nothing's a very quick process, and I felt like my journey was fast from publishing a novel to going full time, because it was like 4 months before I quit my job. But there was years before that of slogging through writing and learning
Right.
and anthologies and short stories and all this other stuff to get to that point. So yeah, it's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, part of what I like to do on the morning haze is talk about my progress throughout the week, and a lot of just kind of documenting making the switch to being a full-time author. And it's crazy. We were talking just before we started broadcasting about how much distractions there are actually when you're at home, and you're like, when you work a full-time job, you're like, oh, okay, I have 2 hours before I go to work, so I'm not going to do anything in those 2 hours but write. And then you go full-time author and you're like, I'm going to have 18 hours of uninterrupted writing time, and it all boils down to like 3. Like,
Yeah,
where did all that time go?
I know.
Today I've managed about 1,800 words on my ghostwriting project. I haven't started Terra Nova words yet. That'll be after the show. But my monthly total for February is up to 40,062 words. My goal was 80,000. Wasn't your goal like 100,000 this year or this month?
My goal was 80,000 as well, because I think we talked about it. It was 28 days shorter month. I figured I'm going to need 5 days for editing. I have 2 books in the process of being edited right now. Then I'm working through revisions and doing all this other stuff. So I needed 5 days. So I said 23 days, 3,500 words a day on average. It'll give me 80,000. So that's kind of what I went with. Right now I'm just looking here on my Write Club. I did about 1,000 so far today. I'm at 67,000 for the month so far.
Oh, you're ahead. You're usually ahead of me though.
But
I think you and Devin are the highest in the collective right now.
yeah, I'm not taking any, like, again, I'm gonna have 4 or 5 days here coming up at the end of this week once I finish the book I'm on, to work on revisions and stuff. So I just haven't taken a day off of writing yet this month, and I'm just trying to. I mean, I'm writing Return to Red Creek. It'll, from start to finish, is going to be probably 3 weeks exactly. So I'm just pushing it to get that one done.
And what's interesting about that is your horror is really, really good, but you've done a couple different genres, both of which are really, really good. And your Red Creek book just came out on Audible yesterday, right? So
Yeah,
like, we can talk about that a little bit, but I think your Resistance series, which says it's trilogy, the second book just came out a couple of days ago,
yeah.
and look, it looks like it's doing very well on Amazon. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and then one of our live viewers, Les, says she is reading Rift right now, and it is awesome. So that's pretty cool, actually. So tell us a little bit about the Resistance. Uh-oh. Are you there? Are you there? So
I was freezing.
he's in Canada, so they have to deal with Canadian internet. And
Yeah,
oh, there he
I,
goes. There he comes
I'm
back.
sort of here.
No,
It
it's all
is
right.
snowing. It is snowing, so you know.
Oh man, we had like 4 inches of snow today. That's like a blizzard in Kansas. I had to go shovel the driveway, and I actually shoveled my neighbor's driveway as well. And I haven't had to shovel. I haven't actually had to shovel a driveway in like 3 years, probably. Yeah, probably 3 years.
I have a snowblower at least now, so kind of need one here.
I'd go buy a snowblower, but I'd be that guy that's snow blowing like an inch of snow, and there's like nothing coming out of the spout, and everybody's looking at you going, "This guy right here, you have a
Yeah,
snowblower for an inch of
you
snow."
use it on your lawn with leaves or something. Okay, sorry, I was cutting out there. I know you were talking about the new series coming out, and then it kind of froze on me. But
Yeah, no,
um,
that's okay. I don't know if you heard me or not. In a live chat, Ellie is saying that she is reading Rift right now, and that it is awesome. And so I just
sweet,
wanted to have you talk on the
awesome.
series a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to, I wrote the Survivor series starting with the event last year, and I released 6 novels in that from March until November. And I love writing the Survivor series. It's been awesome, so much fun. And I have books 7 and 8 coming out, in the next few months. I'm going to be pushing through those. They're already planned and covers are already done and everything. But I wanted to, try my hand at something else. I could only write so many Dean Parker books. first person books. And
Yeah.
as much as fun as they are, and you know what, going back to them, I'm really excited because it's going to be kind of like, you know, wearing an old shoe or something. But
Right.
I wanted to, you know, do something different. It's about, you know, it's 300 years in the future. There's colonies. It's, you know, it's an ensemble cast. So I have, you know, four and five, I guess you could almost say, main POVs in it that I switch between. And I just kind of had an idea for a 3 book series that would be a start to finish of a story. Um, and I just kind of ran with it. So I started writing them in November, and I just wrote 3 books back to back to back. Um, you know, for the quick release kind of idea that we always talk about.
Hmm.
So book one just came out last, I think, exactly a month ago today, and book two just came out 2 days ago. And so far, I think they've been doing fairly well. I think right now they're both in the top 1,000, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
And yeah, so they're just a little bit different than my other stuff. I was kind of, you know, I wanted to go for a little bit more of the kind of gritty science fiction style, like, you know, thinking more along the lines of the Expanse and that kind of thing. When I, you know, when I had the sets in mind, you know, was the first colony, and it's already, you know, a couple hundred years in, it's already falling apart, and the government's not putting money behind it, and everyone there, they all work. You know, it's kind of like working in a coal mine. You spend your money there, and they can't leave because they can't afford to leave,
Right.
and so it's kind of this desperate. So all of the money and funds and everything gets put behind, you know, the Earth fleet, the military, the space exploration program. And we learn quickly, and it's in my blurb, so you know, anyway, it's not really a spoiler, that there's a rift that opens in deep space in our solar system once on the same time every 30 years, and alien ship has been coming through during this 7 minutes or whatever it's open, and then the ship every time it's been doing it for, as far as they know, for 7 cycles of the rift. A ship comes through and then it leaves again. So it's kind of a story about, you know, we learn about some history of it. We learn about there's an eccentric, rich military guy that has created a colony ship to go that's going to go through, and it's basically these different characters, one going through boot camp, being rushed through boot camp because of they think there's an invasion coming. It's about a biologist who's in prison wrongfully, and it's her story about how she, you know, how she gets involved with it. And then I have the, you know, the pilot running a smuggling kind of thing. He's the Han Solo kind of
Yeah.
guy. And you know, I'm bringing, there's an android POV, which was really cool. And you know, I just kind of, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of this and that, and it was really cool and fun to write and come up with these stories and basically get everyone together in book one, and what happens then, right? So
Is your android, is that a POV character?
it is.
So, interesting question. I in my third Terra Nova book, Wings of Redemption, I brought in a new character who is um a what we call a infiltrator from the Regulos Corps, and basically he's a droid, but he's got a kind of a split personality. One is the uh, logical operational side, and that is basically the uh, core side, and then the other is kind of his personality matrix is arranged so that he can read and understand like biologic clues, like tone of voice and stance and approach and all that stuff, something that a computer just wouldn't understand necessarily because of the
Sure.
way that they process things. So it was fun to write from his POV because um, I get to establish that he talks to himself. But in his POV, you understand that he's talking to basically his other half.
Oh, cool.
And so one of the cool things that's going to happen in book four is that Carson and her team are going to meet up with this guy, and they're going to hear him talking to himself, but they're not going to hear the other version of
Yeah,
the other half of himself talking back. And so I thought that was going to be like a really cool dynamic of like basically he's arguing with himself, but you only hear one side of the argument.
nice. Crazy
So,
robots.
yeah, yeah. So with yours, how was it? How was it establishing that kind of a character?
Well, I mean, he does it was interesting because he's really smart and he picks things up very quickly and he has, so he's a guard on Caliban, the moon out small rock moon outside of Uranus, and where this women's prison is. And so he doesn't he's been there for 40 years. He doesn't know much because, let's say the interface, as I call it, isn't accessible there. So he only knows what goes on, what's available in the computer systems at that place. But he kind of has this like push to help her.
Yeah,
So he knows he's different than the rest of the guards, and he's very cautious with it. Can't talk to any of them about it because he knows he'll get, he already thought he was going to get wiped one time and all this other stuff. So I've just kind of made him a little bit almost, more AI kind of advanced. He was unique, and we learned a little bit about that later in it. But so I just kind of made him different. He was fun. He's a little more formal. He doesn't use contractions as and he's
right.
just a little bit more like that. But his inner dialogue is kind of fun, and he's almost childish at times in his thought process. But he's really smart, and he kind of helps out a lot. And he saves everyone's ass a little bit, and mine too. And mine too, because how are they going to solve this? Oh, he'll figure it out.
Right.
So he kind of gives me an escape sometimes, but.
So you said it was a trilogy. Is it just going to be a trilogy? Do you have plans on expanding it?
I, I'm finishing up the final revisions like this weekend before I send it to the editor, and I wrote the ending first before book three. When I got to book three, I wrote the ending. I wrote the epilogue and worked my way toward that.
Mm,
And because I already knew what the story was going to be and how I was going to end it, but I had every intention of continuing it, but as I was writing it, I kind of, I'm still humming and hawing about it, and I kind of wanted to see how readers responded to it. So right now, I'm closing it off, but leaving it open, but leaving a crack in the door, so I could always
sure.
go back and continue it if people do want to continue reading it, right? But um, it's not going to be like an ongoing thing like the Survivors. We're going to release one all the time. If I do another one, I'd probably write three more of them and push at the same time and push them out back to back to back kind of thing again.
Right.
But I like the idea of doing a series, this as indies, and things can get a little long in the tooth, and sometimes it's nice to just think I wrote three books and they're going to
Yep.
be three books. I kind of I'm of the mindset now I wouldn't mind trying a standalone and seeing how that does, and move on to the next thing because that sounds kind of fun too. So
That's what Peter Codron does is rewrites strictly in standalones, and I'm not sure if he has like one or two sequels out there, but I know the majority of the books that he writes are all standalones. And I asked him one time, I said, with the way that indie works for most people, predominantly, like you say, you write in series because it keeps the funnel longer and keeps people into the series and keeps buying books. And I said, "So how do you sustain that type of um, process?" And he goes, "Well, if they like one of my books, then maybe they'll read another one, and it doesn't matter where they come in at because they're all standalones. So if they pick up one book and they like that, they'll read another one, and maybe they'll read another one, and maybe they'll read another one. But it doesn't matter where they come in. It does not matter which book they pick up. They just pick up a book and read it, and if they like it, they'll read the next one. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting way to look at it. It's not what we see for the most part, but it is an interesting dynamic when you talk about getting people into your funnel because if they like your writing, they like your writing. So,
yeah,
uh,
well, you see, I mean, I know there are guys out there that do write in series, but then you see, a Matthew Mather puts out a standalone book and it just kills it.
Blows up.
And
Yeah.
and I know Jasper Scott just did one, and I talked to him about it and asked him just kind of what his thoughts were on it and stuff. And he's like, "Well, we'll see." And he
Right.
did it in December, and he did really well with it. So I think he's doing more of that kind of thing too, because we have lots of ideas, and if we can get them all out there, that'd be pretty cool. But you know, Peter does that. I don't know how sustainable it'll be, but I think I think we kind of have to do series. I think for myself, I don't think I have a large enough fan reader base quite
Right.
yet that I could get away with only doing standalones. But
Well, the
it's
kind
a
of stuff
cool
that we
idea.
write too is predominantly series based. The science fiction, the space opera, military sci-fi, that kind of stuff
Yeah.
is usually series based.
Yeah, and there's I mean, you could write I think if you're going to do a standalone, it gives you maybe a little more freedom, and it also gives you a chance, instead of writing those 70,000, 80,000 word books, maybe you bulk it up and have a bigger book in your
Yep.
story. So
Yep.
we'll see.
And Red Creek, the audiobook just came out. You mentioned doing the sequel, Return to Red Creek.
Hmm.
What precipitated you to write a horror book like that?
Well, horror was I've always read horror. I When I first started writing, I was primarily writing horror short stories because there was more market for them out there than anything that I was finding, and I liked them. They're really enjoyable. So uh, I always wanted to write horror, and I wrote that book the summer of 2017, so it was before I had published anything. So
Hmm.
I had no idea what the event was going to do and how it was going to basically change my life. So I was just kind of doing what I wanted to, writing what I wanted to write. And Red Creek I'm really proud of it. I think it's a great book. Of course, like it was a standalone horror novel, which is, even for us as indies and stuff, I think it's even more difficult to market and to try to sell.
Right.
Um, but it's done fairly well for me. And the main reason I wrote a sequel was because I sold it to Audible Studios. I suggested I was willing to write a sequel and wanted to write a sequel, and they bought it.
Oh,
So
nice.
it basically pushed me to, it's a good excuse for me to say, okay, well, they bought it, so I better write it, right?
Right.
So it's been like a blast to write, and we write science fiction all the time, and we're always doing, it's like a complete, story's a story, but it's kind of cool to be like, you're just people dealing with people, and
Right.
maybe a supernatural entity of some sort, but it's pretty fun to just kind of write this and get back into this story. And it takes place 12 years after the first book, and it's pretty cool to take those same characters and add a couple new ones, and it's been a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Well, I know you gotta get out of here, so we'll wrap it up short. Everybody in the live chat, hey, good morning. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on the Morning Haze this Wednesday. You have the second book out in the Resistance series now. The third book is due out in a month, you said?
March 15th comes out.
The link to the series is in the show notes, as well as the link to Red Creek is also in the show notes. It's underneath here somewhere. Definitely go and pick those up for Nathan. And yeah, it's always a blast to talk with you, Nathan.
Yeah, buddy.
And thanks for jumping on the show at short notice. I thought it was a good idea to hang out and talk since we
Yeah, no,
hadn't
it
done
was
it in a while.
awesome. Thanks for having me.
If you're just joining the show and you haven't subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button and also like this video and share it around, get us some visibility. And then we'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, talking to, I think it's Josh Dazelle tonight. Oh, wait, no, today's Wednesday, isn't it? It's tomorrow. Tomorrow is, why am I thinking it's Monday? Tomorrow is The Writer's Journey with Jennifer Yanez. And then Monday is going to be Josh Dazelle. So I apologize for getting all confused. I go from my bedroom to my basement, and then that's it. all day. So
I never know what day of the week it is,
it's
so don't worry.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Nathan, thanks so much for coming on the Morning Haze. It was a blast, and we'll holler at everybody later.
Thanks, bud.
Later.